Hey guys, this is Cameron with Emerson House Buyers. Um, Coming back to you guys, we've had some great questions, and I wanted to answer those for you. Um, yeah, I'm growing out the beard. It's turning into winter. It's September now, so getting a little scruff. Trying to grow it on the sides. We'll get there sooner or later. Um, so we've had answered some questions last week about marketing. If you haven't seen that video, get on it. Fantastic questions and really digging down into some of the details about actually finding these deals we're talking about. We talk about finance, we talk about finding the deals. So now when you start getting calls, I'm going to talk about today what to do with those leads. So lead, and by lead I mean somebody who's calling you, calling one of your signs, calling one of your marketing campaigns, something of that nature. What do you actually do with those people, and how do you manage that process? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. It's going to be short. It's going to be quick. I don't do anything fancy. It just works. So first question: how do you manage your leads? So when you get these leads coming in, these calls from sellers or people that you have to screen, how do you manage those? What do you use to keep track? So I use a very simple Excel sheet, and it just has columns of the seller's name, the seller's address, of the property address, phone number, when I spoke with them, when I'm going to follow up with them, some details about their situation, when I called them last, and some details about our last conversations and just subsequent conversations I've had. I always log it in there, and then some information about the house, square footage, date, or year it was built, bedrooms and baths, what I need to buy it for at a flip, owner finance, blah blah blah, and then where it came from in the marketing so I can track it. So by using all those columns, or whatever columns you want to track, then I have several other sheets that can do the marketing analysis for me. But how I manage them is pretty simple. I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's just an Excel sheet with columns of data that I want from the seller that I think are important, and rows of the sellers and calls that come in. Do you use Podio? I have thought about it. I know people that do. Right now, I have not made any transition. It is strictly Excel based. So Excel is pretty much free. I think you have to get some subscription once or pay a little bit a month, but it's pretty much, it's peanuts compared to how valuable Excel is. So if you don't have Excel, get Excel. It's fantastic. And the answer for Podio or any of those other ones, I don't use any creative, or excuse me, market. What am I trying to say? CRMs, customer relations managers. There we go. Well, this is all live. We don't do any takes, so you guys will have to bear with me. So customer relations managers, I don't do any of that. Like I said, Excel's my thing. So, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. Really, you don't need to have anything fancy. Get a proven system, get what works, and then you can start testing those stuff out. Just do what works and what works for you. Build some sort of Excel sheet, and however savvy you are, if you got to do stuff by hand, do it by hand. Do you pick up the phone to use an answering service? I used to pick up the phone, and then it became just too much because I work a full-time job. So it would be a lot to get calls throughout the day, try to answer them, and then call people back in the evenings. So what I use is PatLive, PATLIVE, PatLive. They have a couple programs. One's like 85 a month, and then they're up to 100, 150. But you can use them, and you can give them a script and say, I want you to ask this question and this question, how did you hear about us? Make sure you get some marketing bits in there. Make sure you just get general stuff. What's the property address? And then, asking price. And like I said, the marketing piece is huge. Make sure you get where they saw, what are they calling from, a white letter? Are they calling from a yellow letter? Are they calling from a postcard? Are they calling from a bandit sign? Make sure you get that piece of information in there. And you can have them ask the generic questions, 4, 5, 6. They'll ask however many questions you want. And you'll have some person that just reads the questions. Sometimes you get good people, sometimes you get bad people. It's just the nature of the beast, but it does save you a lot of time. So when I get a message daily, and it'll say, I think it's at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it'll have all my leads from the previous day. So I get a list every day of the leads and all their answers to their questions that were provided. I provided Pat Live. So they walk through the whole script, and then I get all those bits and pieces of information, and then I take those. I do my research ahead of time. I already have a lot of the questions answered that I would ask. Saves me a lot of time, and then I get to build a relationship with the seller. So again, yes, I do use an answering service, Pat Live, PATLIVE. What's your strategy for following up with leads? So I heard this once. I can't even remember where I heard it. It might have been from Bigger Pockets, somebody on Bigger Pockets, maybe one of the podcasts they have. But what's worked for me is I'll call somebody 3 times. So I'll call them when I get the message. That next day, I try to follow up with everybody within 24 to 48 hours. Hopefully closer to the 24 than the 48. But I'll call them back. If they don't answer, I'll call them back the next day. If they don't answer, I'll call them back 3 days in a row. So 1, 2, 3. If that doesn't work, if I don't hear from them, I'll put it out a week. And I'll put it out another week and another week. So if they don't answer 3 times, 3 straight days, or 3 straight weeks, then I send them to a month. If they don't answer 3 times, 3 weeks, and 3 months, I forget about it. If somebody knows a better way what to do with those leads, that's how I follow up with them. I follow up 3 days in a row, and then I go a week apart, 3 weeks in a row, and then I go 3 months in a row. That might sound like a lot. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's what's worked for me. Get a system, figure it out, test it in your market. Maybe, following up with people more frequently works. Maybe following up with less works. This is what's worked for me. And like I said, I think I might have mentioned on here that on one of the other videos, I had a seller that I started speaking with. The first call came in July of 2015, and we should be closing at the end of this month. This is September 2016. So it has been 14 months or so, over a year. And that's, if she answers, calls back, I'll just keep following up with them like that. Usually if they answer and I speak with them, I'll call them in a week. Sometimes shorter, just depends on their motivation. You got to feel them out. If they're like, hey, I'm good, I'll follow up with them in a week. If they say, I'm going to wait a little bit of time, I'll follow up with them maybe a month. Usually 2 months is about a max that I'll wait, but you got to think, these people aren't thinking like, oh man, he called me exactly 1 month ago. That's not what they're thinking. They're thinking, man, I got a house I need to sell. And if they need to sell, they're not going to be waiting a month. But sometimes, like I said, this one person, it's been over a year. So I think that answered all the questions. That's all I have time for today, guys. If you found this valuable, again, I'll repeat this. Please, please, please share it with somebody. If you found this valuable, if it helps you, share it with somebody else that you think it would help. That's all I'm trying to do is just share some knowledge, help people out. Real estate's a very powerful tool, and I think it's a great wealth builder and just a fantastic tool to help people reach their financial goals and impact people's lives. So share it with somebody. If you found it valuable, comment if you have any other questions. I've got a list here of questions now to answer. I'll go in more detail if you guys need more details. Just keep bringing them on. I'll keep feeding them back, and keep learning, guys, and keep investing in real estate. Talk to you guys later. Thanks.